All right, let's dive into Reclaiming Health. This book takes a hopeful look at tackling type 2 diabetes. I gotta say, after looking through it, I'm feeling pretty optimistic.
Oh, absolutely. It's a breath of fresh air, isn't it? So many people get that diabetes diagnosis and it's like, bam, life sentence. But this book, it really throws the door wide open, especially if you're in those first 10 years.
Yeah, and you know what? I always thought diabetes was just like too much sugar. Simple as that.
Yeah.
But this book, it really breaks it down. They talk about how excess fat is actually like, I don't know, gumming up the works in your cells.
Right.
It's like, imagine your cells are these tiny factories, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this fat is like sludge, just clogging up the machinery,
Yeah.
especially in your muscles, your liver, and of course the pancreas, which we know is like the insulin factory.
Exactly. And that's where this whole idea of insulin resistance comes in. So type 1 diabetes, your body's just not making insulin. But type 2, the insulin's there. It's just not getting through to do its job.
Like having the right key, but the lock's all jammed up.
Exactly. And all that glucose, your body's main energy source, it's stuck outside in the bloodstream. And that's where the problems start.
So it's not just about sugar levels, it's this whole domino effect.
Right. Insulin resistance, it's a domino effect. You've got excess glucose in your blood that can lead to weight gain, which then just makes the insulin resistance worse, increases your risk of heart disease, and on and on.
So we're talking about more than just cutting back on dessert here.
Yeah.
This is a much bigger deal.
Yeah.
One thing that really struck me was how the book was talking about how this insulin resistance, it can be brewing for years, even decades,
Yeah.
before any symptoms show up.
Which is why we're here, right? Early action is key. This isn't about waiting for some wake-up call. It's about taking control now.
Speaking of taking control, this book does not mess around when it comes to solutions. Let's talk about their take on nutrition. I don't know about you, but when I hear diabetes diet, I just think like, oh man, deprivation.
Right.
But this book really flips the script.
Yeah.
It's all about food as medicine.
Yeah.
Choosing foods that actually help your body reverse diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
And they have this 3-step plan, and I'm kind of curious to get your take on it.
Well, I really like how they emphasize the why behind each step. It's not just like a list of do this and don't do that.
Yeah.
So step 1, it's all about upping your intake of fiber and nutrient-dense foods. So we're talking colorful veggies, fruits, whole grains, all that good stuff.
The stuff our bodies are actually designed to use.
Exactly. Exactly. And then step 2,
Well,
this is where they talk about reducing your animal products.
right.
Now, they're not saying everyone needs to go full vegan or anything like that.
Right.
But they do present some pretty compelling research on, the impact of animal fats and proteins on insulin sensitivity.
Yeah. And this is where I had like one of those aha moments reading this book, because they were talking about a study where just a 15-minute walk after a meal had the same effect on blood sugar as like a dose of insulin.
Wow.
So it's like even those small changes can make a huge difference.
Huge, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that ties into their third step, which is basically dishing all the stuff that we know kind of sabotages our efforts. So refined sugars, processed oils, too much saturated fat, all those artificial sweeteners.
And I like how they don't just like demonize these foods.
Right.
They talk about what you gain by choosing differently.
Yes.
More energy,
Yes.
better digestion, cravings go down. They were even talking about like better skin.
It's true.
It's wild.
It's a much more empowering way to approach it. You're not feeling deprived. You're excited about the good stuff you're giving your body.
Yeah, totally. It's like you're fueling your body for success, not just trying to, I don't know, starve out disease or something.
And speaking of fueling your body, let's move on to another thing that I thought was super interesting in here, which is exercise.
Now, I think we all know, like, on a basic level, moving our bodies is good, but this book takes it a step further.
Yeah.
They're calling it powerful medicine.
And they do a great job of connecting the dots between movement and this whole insulin resistance thing.
Right.
Because when you exercise, it's essentially mimicking what insulin does. It's helping your muscles pull that glucose from your bloodstream and use it for fuel.
Oh, okay. So it's like exercise becomes this natural insulin substitute that your body already has.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
And the best part is it doesn't have to be anything crazy.
Right, right.
They emphasize finding activities that you actually enjoy, starting slow.
Okay.
Even just a brisk walk after meals can make a world of difference.
So consistency over intensity.
Absolutely, yeah. It's about building habits that you can actually stick with, not adding more stress to your plate.
Which I think leads us perfectly into another big thing that they were talking about,
Yeah.
which is lifestyle.
Hmm.
It's so easy to get caught up in the food and the exercise part of it all, but I really liked how this book, they really stress that it's not just about, what you're doing in the kitchen or at the gym.
Right.
It's about your whole life.
It really is. It's about designing a life that supports your health,
Yeah,
not just checking off boxes on a to-do list.
totally. And I think a big part of that is this whole managing stress thing,
Yeah.
which, let's be real, it's way easier said than done.
Right. Oh, 100%. And the book acknowledges that, but they also really emphasize why it's so important,
Okay.
especially for someone dealing with diabetes.
Because stress messes with your blood sugar. Is that kind of
That's exactly it.
okay?
When you're stressed out, your body, it pumps out cortisol, that stress hormone,
Right.
and cortisol basically throws a wrench in your blood sugar regulation.
So it's like you're dealing with the insulin resistance, and then stress just comes in and just throws gasoline on the whole situation.
Unfortunately, it's a very common scenario. But the good news is the book, they give some really, really practical strategies for managing that stress.
Okay.
And guess what?
What?
Exercise is one of them.
Well, of course.
Right. It's like the ultimate multitasker, right?
The Swiss Army knife of health.
Exactly. And again, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. A brisk walk,
Yeah.
get out in nature if you can.
Yeah.
And speaking of nature, the book also talks about how beneficial it is to spend time outdoors,
Uh-huh.
cultivating those social connections,
Yeah.
practicing deep breathing, and of course, prioritizing sleep.
Oh, sleep, my favorite prescription.
Right.
But they don't just breeze over it in this book. They really go into it.
No, they give you the full, sleep hygiene rundown,
Yeah.
8 hours a night. Try to stick to a consistent sleep schedule if you can. Make sure your room is nice and dark and cool.
Yeah.
Avoid those late night snacks.
It's like giving yourself permission to create this little sleep sanctuary.
Exactly. And I think that's what I love most about this book. It's not just about, okay, here's how you manage this disease. It's really about, reclaiming your health
Totally.
and feeling empowered to make changes that, benefit you overall.
So the million-dollar question, can you truly reverse diabetes?
That's what everybody wants to know, right? And the book, they confidently say yes.
Okay.
Now, it's not a magic bullet or anything.
Right.
It takes effort, but with dedication and the right approach, they really believe it's possible.
It's a journey, not a sprint or whatever they say.
Exactly, exactly. The book actually recommends working with your doctor,
Okay.
set some realistic goals, and just really focus on progress, not perfection.
That's such a good point. It's so easy to get caught up in I got to do everything perfectly.
Right.
And then you just get overwhelmed. You give up.
Exactly.
And there's this one line that really stuck with me. They said, DNA loads the gun, but diet and lifestyle pull the trigger.
Ooh, I like that.
Isn't that good?
It's so true, though. It really highlights that, yeah, genetics might play a role, but we have a lot more control than we think we do.
So much power. It's not a life sentence. It's like this call to action.
I love it.
Well, on that note, deep divers, I think we'll leave you to ponder that very powerful message. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep reclaiming your health.